last class we did not finish this design stage, and today we're gonna finish the design stage and move on to the development stage.
Miss, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sure.
So many people are saying that our school might be passing the year. Like, let us pass it. Is that true?
Not for year 10.
Oh, so for what?
It has happened for this middle and southern Iraq, not
Oh,
for the KRG region.
so it's not 100%. Yeah.
It's not that it's not true. It's not gonna
Oh,
apply for our case.
okay. Thank you. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
You're welcome. So last class, this is where we actually ended the lesson. Flowcharts in the design stage, where every program has a start and has an end, whether you like it or not. Like, it's something that you can get full mark on just by you have to mention the start and the end. And then, of course, using the symbols, you kind of read the input, read the income, and then you read the cost. And then if income is greater than or equal to cost, then calculate the profit. If it's not, then calculate the loss. It's a very simple software, but I make sure you understand what's going on in
Hi,
this.
miss.
Hello, miss. I got a mic.
Hello.
No way. Dylan got a mic.
Yep, that's me.
Okay. Now, good for you, Dylan.
Thanks, miss.
So, system flowcharts show how data flows through a system and also how decisions are made. They use special symbols to represent it. Input, output, processing, and decisions. Okay. In this case, we have output in profit, output in loss, reading input, inputting income and cost, and then the decision is income. No, actually, calculate profit or calculate loss. Okay. We have other diagrams representing other stuff, like DFD. They show where certain hardware devices are needed. That's why we do this in the design stage, in order to specify what type of hardware do I need and what type of software, of course, do I need. And it's very necessary for the development stage. If you have a flowchart, you can easily code it. For the development stage, it's so easy to do it if you have a flowchart. Much easier, not necessarily easy. Now, input designs. So when you collect your data from the user, you need to make sure that you have a proper design of input. This design includes something called validation routine. And validation routine makes sure that the correct data is being inputted. Actually, verification is the same, but validation happens at the time of data entry, whereas verification happens after data entry. I think I should write that down. So validation takes place at the time of data entry, whereas verification takes place after data entry. And I'm going to explain what that means as well. Okay. We have different types of validations: range check, length check, type check, format check, presence check, check digit lookup check, and then consistency check. Okay. What do you think range check is when you enter data?
For example, ages between 15 and 25, or
Yes.
ages between.
Yes. I think I talked about this last class, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So age between, please enter your age must be between 15 and 25. In databases, um, you can specify these validations. You can say that make sure you do not accept data below 15 and above 25. You can actually say this. So this happens at the time of data entry. Length check. What do you think length check is? No one?
How
How
many
many
characters?
characters is? How many?
Yes. Exactly. How many characters? The number of characters. This
Mi-
happens most of the times. Most of the times it happens in IDs.
Miss,
So, Bala,
how does verification work in these examples?
I'll tell you how verification works. First, this is at the time of data entry. We'll talk about verification in detail as well. Okay? We have two types of verification and we're going to talk about it. Type check. For example, this age must be, data must be a number or a date or, I don't know, Boolean. Okay? Boolean means either yes or no, or true or false. You have two options. Okay, that's type. You define the type of the data. Format check. This format check happens a lot in email. Okay. For example, you're gonna say star at star.com. Star means everything. It's a wildcard in IT, and make sure you recognize this from now on. You might need it in your everyday life. So that means anything at anything.com. This happens a lot in email systems. That means the format of your email or whatever data that you enter into that field or text box must be something, must have an at and then something else .com. That's the format in order to be acceptable. Otherwise, it's going to tell you please enter a valid email address. Presence check. Data must be filled. Data must be there. Or field must contain data. This is for the required fields that you usually see. We can specify all of these in Access or any database software when you actually develop your database in order to allow the user to input data. Check digit. Okay. We talked about check digit, but how can I, put it properly? The final.
Miss, you said applies on an algorithm to calculate whether the number is correct or not.
Okay, so 1 or 2 digits. The final 1 or 2 digits. An algorithm will be worked on the applied on the number and should result the final 1 or 2 the final 1 or 2 digits. Okay, digits.
Miss, I still don't understand check digit very well.
We talked about it in barcodes.
I
Remember
know.
the barcode?
Yeah. But
And everybody got the 4 or everybody got the 3, whatever I told you. But after you applied the algorithm and your number had to be between 1 and 9, otherwise you wouldn't get that number. That means if you didn't get that number, that means your number was not between 1 and 9, which is unacceptable.
it was just the last two lines that just checked to see if it was valid, right?
Yeah. What do you mean?
No, I'm just...
So you're good now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Look up. I think I have the thing here. Why am I? Okay. Look up. Check. For example, if your job title is a teacher, check if teacher exists in the positions available. So lookup check is usually connected, that field, that specific field is connected to either another table or another set of data. So you're saying, for example, this happens a lot in universities. Which country are you from? You're from that country. And then which city? And then from that city. And then which university? Then that university. And it says, if your university is not listed, please let us know. Do not enter it on your own. It happened to me actually while I was trying to, apply for a university for the summer, for a course actually in the summer. When I was an undergraduate, my university, of course, was not there, so I had to email them, please add it to the list. Otherwise, it would not let me continue my application. Okay. Consistency check. For example, if you have entered your title as a Mr. or Mrs., then your gender should be female or male. Okay? It wouldn't make sense if you have entered Mr. in your title and then the gender as female. That's what we call consistency check. You will program this. Even year 13s, they're not at this level. We're not at that level of actually coding this or putting this into practice, because it's actually pretty hard. You have to connect it to Visual Studio and then code it, because the software, the database software like Access or SQL Server, does not provide this kind of what do you call this kind of service. You have to code it. You have to compare these two fields. So we do all of these things to make sure that the user hopefully enters the correct data. Okay. Let me see. Yeah. And make sure you know this thing that I'll write right now. Even after validation check, even after applying validation, the user is still prone to enter the incorrect data. This is very, very important for you to know. You need to, know this by heart. So when we say applying validation, still the user is prone to enter the incorrect data. For example, range check. You have applied the range check on your field, okay? Age between, and the type check as well. Age between 15 and 25, and the data type must be a number, okay? So if by mistake the user tries to input a letter, it will not accept it. Also, if, for example, you know, this happens when you enter, for example, instead of 19, you enter 199. Okay, Rosie. You enter 199. Okay, that will also prevent you from moving forward and actually, you know, seeing what you've entered. But still, you can enter a number that is actually not your age. For example, you might not be 20, and then you might enter the number 20. Okay? Which is a number that passes the type check, and it's in the range. Okay? Oops. It is in the range. Now, in order to hopefully minimize that, avoid that, we have what we call verification. And what is verification? Verification happens after data entry. It's a way of preventing errors when data is copied from one medium to another, most of the times. We have two methods of verification, double data entry and then visual check. That's when at the end of the form, they'll tell you, please check your data before you click on submit or before you click on next. They'll tell you that. And sometimes you have double data entry. Please rewrite it, rewrite your email, confirm your email. Even if you have entered the proper format of an email, they'll still tell you to rewrite your email. And if it doesn't match, then something is wrong. Okay? And this happens a lot, of course, in passwords. Passwords have a lot of validation checks. Must be 8 characters, must contain letters and numbers, and must contain uppercase and lowercase, and must contain, I don't know. We have a lot of validation routines applied on the password, yet they still tell you, even if it passes all of those, they still tell you to rewrite. So to make sure that you've entered the correct data that you intend to enter. So, any questions? Am I even online? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, miss.
Miss, can you re-explain?
My
Wait,
ears.
can you explain visual check again?
Visual check.
Yeah. What did
Visual
you?
check. They'll at the end. It just tells you, you know, just to double check your data. It doesn't. You as the developer, you don't do anything from your side. Okay. You will just insert a text box in the end. Please double check your data visually. You know, you just go ahead and, you know, do proofreading or visual check is not proofreading, but you just take a look at your data. But you have to tell the user, please double check your data and make sure everything is entered correctly before you click on submit. You just tell this to the user, and then it's totally up to the user. You will still, even after validation and verification, you know, you still might have incorrect data, but validation and verification is a way to minimize errors. You try to minimize it, you try to avoid it as much as possible. But you can never guarantee it 100%. There's no such a way. Okay. Data storage. So this is, oops. So data storage in the design stage, we're still in the design stage. By the way, the design stage is the longest stage in software development life cycle, okay? We're still in the design stage. you need to know how you're going to store data when you develop a system. For example, especially with websites, you might you might create a database for that, but where will this database be stored? Where will all of your data be stored? You create a system for the school and for all of the students and teachers and everyone. Where will this data be stored? On a database. Okay, where will this database be stored? Which hard disk? Whether are you gonna use cloud data storage? Are you gonna use internal HDD? Okay, which computer will be dedicated, or which HDD will be dedicated for this data to be stored? These things you will need in the design stage, because it's gonna help you identify the costs and everything to be ready when you actually develop, so that you store the data. When you develop, you store the data, and whatever development stage contains, you store the data in the correct and proper place. So how much data needs to be stored? How quickly does the data need to be accessed? Who should have access? Oh, actually, this one is so important. Who should have access to data? And then what sort of hardware is going to be needed for the storage? Not doing, going to be needed. Okay. So I'm trying to explain data storage. DLAN, enough. Who should have access to data is actually very important. This is when you say we have different roles, and the roles include, you should by now, you should know that, the administrator, admin, and then maybe I don't know what could, student, staff, a teaching staff, um, um, administrator staff, administration staff, yeah, and maybe guest. In the design stage, you need to lay out these things very properly and give it to the user. Okay, give it to not the user, the developer, later on in the development stage. They need to know this, otherwise they won't be able to have, design or develop the proper software for you. Okay, processing. So we said that every computational problem or every computer system contains of input, processing, output, and storage. Input, we design the input, you design the validation check and stuff like that. Now we talked about the storage as well. Now we're in the processing stage, okay? How the input data is processed to produce the proper output or the output required. How are you going to process it, okay? This defines the algorithm. This is where the flow chart and everything comes in, actually. And that's it. I mean, there is not much going on in the processing stage, or the processing of the design stage. Okay. File structures. Data structure or file structure is the format in which data are stored and organized. Okay? You take into account these considerations. Field name, field length, field type, validation check, and what we call other metadata. Okay. Metadata means data about data. Take this a note. Metadata means, and you will hear this a lot in the IT field. Okay, metadata. Metadata means data about data. Okay.
Miss, can you put it on the PowerPoint?
Okay, sure. Metadata means data about data. Okay, this is all metadata: field name, field length, field type, validation check. These are all metadata. And when I say okay, and other metadata. Okay, this is what we call a data dictionary. Now, you are not required to develop a data dictionary, as far as I know, but the book contains exercises, I think, on this subject. So I've never seen any past papers requiring you to develop a data dictionary, but you need to be able to do so anyways. Okay, you never know what might be in the exam. So this is an example of data dictionary. Now be aware that we're still in the design stage. Okay, we're still in the design stage. So this is what we do. You have to, bring in papers and then lay down the fields that you're gonna have, and then the data type, the field size, and then here it says notes, but our version, you have to have the field length, the field type, and the validation check, and other metadata. This example is a year 12 example that I brought. You'll have to develop a proper data dictionary. This is an example of a marking scheme in year 12 kind of past paper. So for example, it says field data type, field size. This is field length. Other metadata, input mask or validation or default value. Here it says this is a primary key. Here it has written the format. Here it says integer, stuff like that. Okay. Now, let's create our own version of data dictionary. Okay. Using this type of data. This is actually from a past paper in of year 12. I think they do ask you to create a data dictionary in this specific past paper. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. So we need to have a field name, of course. Field is a column. Field length. Field type. You don't necessarily, fill in all of these. Validation checks. And then other metadata. Anything else that are not these. Payroll number. Field length. Do I have data type? how come I don't have data type? Okay. Let me just hold on before that. Let me insert not right but left data type. And I'll make sure that I will insert this here as well. What's going on? Okay, what could be the data type of this specific column, payroll number? Huh?
What did you say?
What could be the data type of this field, payroll number? AT00001. This is what we call either short text, you either say that, or you say alphanumeric because it contains short text is an example of alphanumeric. It's totally up to you which one you prefer to mention. Okay. It contains letters and numbers. Okay. Then we have field length. So you can see that this is all the same length of the field. So you can actually count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Length is 7. Field type. Oh, just delete this. Field type is data type. Okay, validation check. Do you think we're gonna have any validation checks on this? No. Other metadata. This is the primary key of the table. Usually fields like ID, number, and stuff like that, they're primary keys. Forename and then surname. The data type again is short text. Okay, it applies the same for surname. The field length, we don't, you could say 50. There's no one whose first name is more than 50. Okay. Just in case. Crew code, hold on. Validation check. We don't have any validation check. And there's nothing here. Then we have crew code. Okay. The data type is again alphanumeric or short text. The field length of crew code is, this one is 3, this one is 4. I'll just say 5. And then validation check. No validation check. And then this is actually a foreign key, but you don't know what a foreign key is, so either you leave it blank or just write foreign key. The long service. Okay, this is actually very interesting, this section, this field. Okay. Okay, this is very, very interesting. So you can see that you have 0 and then -1, and then 0 and then -1, -1, 0, 0, 0, -1, 0, 0. When you have such a thing, that means you only have it between 2 options. And those 2 options are, in our case, 0 and -1. Okay? When you have it only between these 2 options, you call that field Boolean. Okay. You call that field boolean. That means you only have two options. You can only choose between two options, either 0 and -1. You don't have a field length, you don't have a validation check, and you don't have anything else. And that's our lovely, it's that easy. That's our lovely data dictionary. Any questions? You go on Google and just type in data dictionary. You'll find a lot of examples regarding this. Pasha was amazed at the examples that he got from internet. He was like, this thing is so popular. I didn't know that it would be that popular. It is because it's very widely used.
Miss,
Vale.
was that for AS?
This is not for AS, no.
Okay.
You are supposed to know that. This is, I brought the example from an AS level, but the IGCSE level is supposed to know this because, yeah, there are lots of stuff from AS which are IGCSE level. It's not like everything in AS is not new. Those who have taken IGCSE ICT will be very, very comfortable with AS, actually. Even A level. List the stages of SDLC, yalla. Here's the stages of SDLC. Review questions. What's the first stage? Okay, what is the first stage, Prusha?
What does SDLC stand for?
Software development lifecycle.
Oh,
What is the first stage?
Miss, is that analysis?
analysis.
I asked Prusha. Okay, analysis.
Oh.
It's fine.
Should
Yalla,
I see
Dila.
the next one?
Oh. Hello.
Okay, Prusha, say the next one.
Design.
Design. Akar. Akar's not there. Neither. Adan?
Iteration, something like that.
No.
No.
Start.
Design and no wait, development and testing.
Yeah. Development and testing. Rosie.
Miss,
Miss,
can I
sorry,
see?
I didn't know my mic was muted. I was getting annoyed.
Oh, it's fine. Yalla. Rosie, is Rosie there? Is she here?
Oh yeah, Miss, I know one.
Okay, then say it.
Implementation.
Implementation. What's the next one?
Documentation.
Documentation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And evaluation.
Evaluation. Data evaluation, thank you. Okay, that was the easiest question. Now,
Yay.
take out a piece of paper.
Uh-oh.
Of course, you can use your notes as well. Totally, I'm okay with that. As long as you do something and you write it down. Make sure you write it down. Okay? I'll give you some time for this. Like 5 minutes. Okay? To answer this question.
Oh.
Summarize what the analysis stage involves. What do you do in analysis? It was the table actually that I screenshot. I took a screenshot.
Research the existing system.
Yes, Prusha, write it down on a piece of paper.
Oh,
Right now,
oh, I'm
okay?
sorry, I didn't hear.
No, it's fine. Write down on a piece of paper for now, just so that you practice. It's more of a practice. Otherwise, I know that the book is right in front of you, but for the sake of practice and review. Taka taka chia.
It's D-Land's mic, I think. They're mute.
Okay, so let's try and answer it together.
Miss, wait.
You should have an outline by now. Okay, yellow. It's fine if you're not done. You can answer this question on your own later on. Okay, what should I write? Prusha? Nobody's ready.
Miss, it's 11 in the morning. Our brains aren't ready.
As if 11 in the morning is early.
Miss, I woke up at like 3 p.m. yesterday.
Miss, I haven't slept at all. I usually I usually go to sleep at like 9 p.m.
Miss, I went to sleep at like 8 a.m. and woke up at like 4 p.m. It's fine.
That's not a good sleeping pattern.
I
But
I
Miss,
slept for
Miss,
4 hours.
Miss, if I get a good sleeping pattern, like, why would that be useful at all? All we do is sit at home.
Yeah. Ms. Shubashri was research and collect data. Okay. Ms. Shubashri was just talking about this. She was advising me 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Your body system will be in a shock if you sleep during the day.
Really?
Okay? Yeah.
Oh no.
And
Am I gonna
especially
die?
with you guys, this happens to every age, but especially with teenagers because there are two stages in life where you grow so much. The first stage is when you're in the womb of your mom.
Oh
From one
God.
cell, you become a full human, a
Yeah.
full person in 9 months. The
That's
second
a lot.
stage The second stage is the teenage stage. Especially at this stage of you guys, make sure you eat and sleep well, okay? Because it's gonna stay with you for the rest of your lives. To be honest, my teenager stage was not very well, and it's obvious on my face and on my body. Up to now, it's gonna stay with me, okay,
Fair enough.
for the rest of my life. But it's your body system is not designed to sleep during the day. It's terrible. Okay, you can also Google this as well.
It's a fair enough point. I mean,
Yeah,
Miss,
but make sure you
understandably-
eat and sleep properly, because it's gonna stay with you for the rest of your life. And it's no matter what, eating and sleeping properly, it's gonna
Dada slept
and
for 4
having a
hours.
healthy life is a privilege,
True, true.
especially if you have the option to do so. Some people don't have the option. There are soldiers, or there are security guards during the night that they have to actually stay awake during the nights. So since you have the option to do so, make sure you have a good, healthy life. It's important.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay, so let's answer this question. You can find facts by observation, interviews, and stuff like that. Research and collect data. Okay. We're not going to mention the research methods, okay? Methods of research in an existing system, which is observation, interviews, questionnaires, and document collection. Because we're just talking about analysis stage in general. Describe the system, okay? Oh my God, it's 11:50. Describe the current system. Okay, I think you should be able to answer this. I will end the class right now, but just give me 1 minute. It is this. It's exactly this. Okay, I'm just gonna copy and paste it here. Yeah. Okay. Now, there's another question. I'll leave that for you, but I'm ending the lesson right now. Okay. The objectives. Oh, what did I do?
Miss, are we gonna have the second lesson?
We'll definitely have the second lesson, of course.
Okay. Are we gonna have like a
The
5-minute
second
break?
lesson would be more interesting.
Okay. Are we gonna have like a 5-minute break?
The second lesson starts at 1.
Okay.
Identify and describe the methods of research in an system. Okay. Okay, guys, I got the point. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of different methods. Recording and analyzing information about the current system. Describe the need to identify input, outputs, and processing of the current system. And why do we need to identify the problems of the current system? Okay. Mares and Berzi, Amir.
Yes, miss.
Okay, enough, guys.
That was Barazbis, not Amir.
Okay. Bares and Berzi?
But is here as well.
Berzi asleep?
No, he's here.
No.
He's here.
Here.
No, I'm not. I'm here.
Dia is here.
Yes.
Miss, I'm not here.
Eren, Lara is not here. Is Lara here? No.
Miss, I'm here.
Mohammed Bakhtiar?
Not here.
Oh, Mo's not here. Is he?
Mustafa is not here. Rasan Ahmed?
No.
Rafa.
No.
Okay. Rawen is here. Rosie is here.